Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by F. Murray Abraham, an Oscar-winning actor and three-time Emmy Award nominee, who is a nominee this year for the Disney Plus series Moon Knight in the Outstanding Character Voice-Over Performance category for voicing Khonshu. Great character, fan favorite character. F. Murray Abraham, congratulations. Thank you so much for doing this. How'd you find out about the nomination? I guess let's start there. How did getting that kind of recognition for the performance feel? And what were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let me tell you that I got the information from my daughter, who kind of runs our family. But the thing about it is that it was like so much fun to do. And the idea that you can get that kind of lovely recognition. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, for something that is so much fun to do. What's better than that? There's nothing better than that.
No, it's great. So you mentioned how fun it is. I wanted to start actually how you got involved. I know you've worked with Oscar Isaac a ton, right? I know you did stage stuff with him, and obviously I think of you and the scene you have with him in Inside Llewyn Davis is one of my favorites. And I actually think about it all the time when you're just like, your character's like, there's not a lot of money here. I think that's such a great scene. It's so incredible. And I think it's like so indicative of like just what the entire entertainment and art and all the art versus commerce. I love that scene so much. So I know you had a prior relationship with Oscar, but I mean, did he get like, did Marvel reach out to you because of Oscar, or how did you get involved, I guess?
Well, I know Oscar before that picture. We did Shakespeare together, and we've known each other, and we happen to like each other, which is nice. And the first thing when they called me and asked if I was interested in Khonshu was I called Oscar and I said, thanks for submitting me. He said, I didn't have anything to do with it. I said, what do you mean? How do they know? He said, I don't know. You gotta talk to Muhammad. And he said, well, it was pretty obvious, he said, why we chose. For me, that's not obvious, except that I was delighted. The problem I had was trying to come up with the right voice for this remarkable character. I mean, he really is outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept doing things like, how do you do that kind of a creature with a face like that, a body like that? And so I did all kinds of different gravelly voices and quiet voices. Anyhow, when I presented them, because we didn't talk about this before I went into the recording studio, and then I presented them to him, he said, no, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear you do him. And I just was so delighted to be able to have that kind of freedom.
Yeah. So can you talk about the process and how it was? I mean, so you're doing the ADR, I guess, or the narration, right? The performance in the recording studio, like you said, and then Oscar has already done the performance on set. So then how does that work for you? How do you are you playing off of what you're seeing? Or how did that work? What is the process like?
That's really a tricky question, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I'm a very prepared actor, and I really was ready to try a whole bunch of different things, and I had a pretty good idea what I wanted to do. But when you see it, then it affects you in a very original way. So what that allows you to do is come up with something that surprises both you and your producer, so that you're not sure what's going to be coming out. All the preparation. I'm making this a long answer. The thing to do is to prepare yourself, but allow yourself to be surprised. Now, the next problem is once you do 3 or 4 hours of recording, you come back to the studio after they've looked at it and they've tried it and they put it together and they think, this doesn't work, try it this way. Add these words, take these words out. That's when the real hard work begins, because you've got to start tinkering and pulling in and pushing out. And then you come back a third time and then a fourth. They're very demanding for this. It's not just off the top of anyone's head. And
Right.
it's great from my point of view as a professional that I am to find people who know what they're doing.
I wanted to ask you actually to follow up there. You mentioned how much fun the character is and how enjoyable it is. I guess and how much you prepare as an actor, which I think is so evident. What was your thoughts on the character? How did you what did you think about him? And how did you kind of come at that aspect of it? How do you prepare to play Khonshu?
I gotta tell you, in the society, I'm sorry to say, the society that we're living in now, these dangerous times, I really feel sometimes like I wish I could be Khonshu for a little while, because there are certain people I would like to. I hate to say, but I really mean it. Some people are getting away with murder. And I would think Khonshu steps up and says, no, it ain't going to happen, baby. Not as long as, not on my watch. And I respond to that so positively. I'm a Scorpio, and I went through a whole period of that Scorpion vengeance. And I thought I got rid of most of it, but not all of it.
When you're playing him too, I think like you said, I mean, it's like darkly funny, right? Like you have the great one of the lines I'd like literally like yelped laughing at, I think, is like kill him, break his windpipe. Just a great line, and it's so ridiculous. But I guess when you're doing the voice, like, do you know that? I guess do you know that's funny, and are you like kind of playing the comedy, or how did you kind of manage that part of it?
It's a little of both. You're right on the money, and that seems to be a very popular line, by the way. It's really funny to hear on the street. People recognize me and they'll shout it to me. Break his windpipe. It's really outrageous.
It really is. It's so good. And I guess like, you know, now like once you watch the finished product, I guess how did you feel like when you watch, like you said, like going through the whole process and all these things, when you see how it comes together? I mean, how did that end up matching like your experience, I guess?
Well, what it does is supersede it, because what happens is you begin to understand what these people who do this all the time, you see what they're trying to accomplish. And that's what makes it exciting, because what you're doing is matching your expertise, which I have vocally, with their expertise, and it becomes a balance. And it begins to, I think, speak to the next, if we do go on with this, it's very interesting to see how it's going to evolve. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be much more sophisticated, but I hope we don't lose the fun.
No, I think that's what made it really fun too. How much did you know about like the Marvel stuff before you got involved with this? Were you like a fan, or have you seen them?
I grew up on comics.
Okay.
Oh no, really? I grew up. It's a combination. I grew up on radio. We didn't have a TV in my house for a long. It wasn't in our town for a long time. I grew up on all those wonderful radio shows that really reflected the comics, and the comic books were, they were 10 cents a piece, and they were a very important part of our lives.
Yeah.
And really, in cartoons. And so, yeah, it was meaningful to me. I didn't know all of these characters because I think I was away from it when Moon Knight happened. I had no idea he was as powerful and as popular as he is.
Yeah. I want to ask you, you obviously, like you said, like you're such an accomplished actor, Oscar winner, you're an incredible stage actor, and you've done all these different things. When you're doing voice acting, how much do you differ your performance? Like how much is it a different tool or a different, different skill, I guess? Because I think a lot of actors who are great actors maybe can't do voice work, but I think obviously you could do both.
It's a different thing. Have you ever had the opportunity to see recordings of voice actors who are recording?
Sometimes, like in behind the scenes stuff, right? For animated movies, I've seen that.
Right. Because what they do is much different than what they would do if it was on camera. Mm-hmm. Their faces go in different ways. Their hands go all over the place. They're really doing things with their bodies, and they're throwing themselves into it. What that's doing is coloring the sound of the voice. What they're trying to do is send pictures to you with all of these gyrations through their vocal. I mean, characters like the one I'm doing maintain an absolute perspective of the reality of that character, along with the unreality. You've got to include both of those things. Mm-hmm. And that's a difficult dimension.
Yeah.
And finding it can be tricky. But I think with someone as clearly defined as Khonshu, it's not a problem. It was clear just from the look of him right away. He's someone you just don't mess with. And he's someone you rely on, and someone you kind of enjoy being around.
Yeah. It's really a great character, and it is right. Your voice is such a perfect match for him. I mean that like very high. Like it just is such a. I can't imagine who else they could have gotten. Like you know, like you're saying. Like I just don't know who else could have done it. Have you gotten like so? Like you said, like Oscar wasn't necessarily involved in getting you the call. Like when like afterwards, now that it's aired and stuff, did you get like what did he think of like what you decided to do and stuff and how it came together? Have you gotten to talk to him about that?
Oh, yeah. That was funny. Because as I say, I really did try different voices. And he said, no, no, do your voice. I don't want those other voices. I don't want to grab. I want your voice. That's why I want you. And it was a great relief to be able to have that kind of freedom.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned you're an Oscar winner. We're a Gold Derbies and award site, obviously. I was looking at your Best Actor speech this morning. It's an incredible moment. What, like, you know, looking back on that now, like, what is the thing you take away from that, you know, winning that Oscar for Amadeus and that you know, that experience, I guess?
Oh, well, it's made my life a lot easier. I mean, I got to, you know, I got to play Sophia Loren's husband, and I got to kiss her a lot of times. That wouldn't have happened without the Oscar.
Right. That's great.
Oh, it's great. It's just made our lives so much easier.
Yeah, it's a great speech, and it's on YouTube. I was watching it, and it's such a great performance, obviously, for Amadeus. So last thing you mentioned, like coming back for Khonshu and like maybe a second season. I mean, like, have you had like what are your thoughts of like what could happen or like what do you want to see him do? I guess
that's tricky. I don't have these guys have the imagination. I don't know. What I would like to see him do is make the world a better place. I mean, I hate to be so broad as that, but whatever it takes to make the world a better place, which is what I think he's doing right now. But I'd like to see it start to happen, to see the changes that happen because of him. It's a hard thing to do because his methods are so difficult for people to swallow.
Right.
I think that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, but you know what the funny thing is, like you said, I think there is a relatability to it, even with the hardness, right? I think that's why the people have really responded to the character and your performance.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Emery Abraham, Emmy nominee this year for Moon Knight, outstanding character voiceover performance. It's a great performance. Thank you so much, Emery Abraham. Appreciate it.
Thank you.